Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine. We're presented by the Navy Federal Credit Union, Navy Track and Field. Well underway in its indoor season. I'm with women's captain and noted Navy basketball fan Taylor Woodworth. And Taylor, we were just chatting off camera before. This is a big responsibility for you as a team captain, and you get to add to this generational run that Navy Track and Field is on. You get to add some more stars on your sweater.
I need some.
And you get to go for Patriot League titles again. When you boil it down to the essentials, what is most important about team success at this level in building a winner?
I think Zaz might have the same answer, but attitude and effort is what we usually go by. We have a lot of things on accountability as well, so make sure you're at the right place, right time, with the right uniform. Every now and then I forget my spikes, and then I'm scolded accordingly for that. However, in every other manner, like we are at practice to be at practice, to perform, to win, because that's like our whole culture. So that's like the main purpose of it.
You mentioned Captain Jacques Guillaume. We're going to catch up with him in a little bit. If you hear some sound in the background, it is 150 men associated with the Navy football team admiring the 4 stars on Taylor Woodworth's sweater. That responsibility, and you mentioned that work ethic to go after a star like that, how much does that motivate you over the course of the season?
Oh, a ton. That's like our one big motivation is to be Army, and then like on top of that, Patriot League, because we see them again there, and we just want to crush them even more. But it really, every day at practice, with that being our main goal, it helps the whole team get together and a lot closer because we are all working towards the same thing. So I think as a culture at the Academy, it's a big thing, but for our team specifically, it's one of the most important aspects of it.
What does the daily grind of a practice actually look like at a Navy track practice?
That's a great question. It's honestly shorter than most other teams because we get there, we get to work, and we get out. There's a lot of rest and recovery that comes with track because it's so much repetition. So we'll usually get to practice, do our warm-up, which is about 15 minutes, get through our workout, and then we'll have anywhere from 15 to an hour of recovery, depending on if you have any lingering injuries, that kind of thing. We'll usually kind of hang out after practice as well, chit-chat, go to dinner. I know the boys do that a lot, so the women are catching on to that as well. We had a meal together the other day out in Annapolis, so it was a good time. But
how would you describe the camaraderie that goes on with this women's team in particular?
It's pretty close. We're getting closer as the days go by, which is really nice. The plebes, the freshmen, have been really integrated well so far. I think we're allowing them to take on some more responsibility. And with our team especially, you don't have to have a role or a title to be a leader. A lot of it is performance-based, so you can be a freshman, show up day one, and you're whooping my butt, right? That means that you're coming in, you're putting in the work, and it just pushes the rest of the team to work a lot harder. So I know I've experienced that quite a bit.
What responsibility do you feel to make sure that the group is so tight-knit in advance of these dual meets and competitions?
Yeah, I think the most important because we are such an individual sport that is also a team. So like when it comes to dual meets, and especially against Army, it's team scoring. So sometimes you're put in a position where you may not be put in the event to win, but to just score points so that we can kind of outscore Army. And then like traveling, we'll get closer with that as well. But like I said, because it's individual, making sure that we're close so that we want to support each other even though we may not be winning an event, because I know sometimes a lot of people have ego issues with that, but there's no one on our team that has that problem, which is awesome.
You mentioned a common theme that it's a team sport with individual performances and events. You ask any athlete on this campus about a particular matchup coming up, whether it's Army or Patriot Leagues or bowl games, and it's always the same response. We're going to focus on ourselves. We're going to focus on what we do best. However, in your case as a track athlete, how much credence and attention do you give to another opponent in preparing for a dual meet and competitions?
I know for some of our coaches in particular, he knows which one he is. He'll go out and kind of score the meet prior to like the actual setup when we're slating people for different events. So we have some distance runners that like to monitor times and scores from them, but we'll take that into account, but we know that like we put in the work during practice, and we can tell that like at the end of the day, we're gonna dive at the line, right? And we're gonna make sure that we win no matter what, which we've seen a lot, I know, from Zaz. I think personally done it a couple times, which has been really cool to see. But
You said Zaz or Saz?
Zaz.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask him about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
We're going to find out. We're going to boil down that mystery. What drew you to the sport of running?
I was faster than the boys when I was little. So I realized like that's something that I'm kind of good at. I played soccer growing up, and then I played a little bit of basketball, hence the support for it here. However, I'm definitely not good enough to be on that team. But I like how much of an individual thing it is, where like your performance and your ability to compete is based on yourself. Like you'll use your teammates a lot to improve yourself, but it's a lot of like mental toughness and determination on your own part. And like one of the big things that my dad always told me was just stay around and you'll make it, right? Which is honestly how it's been for me. I was cross country plebe year, did not perform well, communicated with the coaches and was able to move to the sprint side. And then since then I've just like, it makes more sense to me in my head. So since then I've just kind of skyrocketed it, I feel like, improved from there, which has been really cool.
It's a really good leadership lesson from your father just in terms of success. Looking at your bio, you grew up in parts of Hawaii and Colorado and Washington State. What was that like moving around in your youth?
It was cool. I mean, those are all probably the most beautiful places you could live in the country. So yeah, born in Hawaii. Dad was in the Army for 28 years. Every man in my family has been in the Army, actually. So big military family. And then he retired. We moved to Colorado, and we were at 8,300 foot elevation. So I think that's probably where the track, the running came into play. Let me be a little bit better when we went down. And then I just kept it going when I got to Washington State. I had a really great coach in high school. He was from Texas, 400 meter runner. So great guy, still talk to him. He's really motivated me through all this, honestly, when I was struggling. So
you joined the Navy despite extended parts of your family going into the military on the Army side. How was that received, 18-year-old Taylor Woodworth?
Not well. My dad put on his first Navy polo and he said, "I feel uncomfortable." And I was like, "You look uncomfortable. It doesn't look right on you." Now all he wears is Navy stuff, Navy track and field. We have the Army-Navy football game. Grandparents come. They all have their Army stuff on. They're like, "But since you're at school, we'll root for Navy," even though they'll sometimes wear that stuff still. It's a fun little rivalry that we'll have. I'll get texts back and forth, but like at the end of the day, they're supporting who's ever at which school. So my brother went to West Point, so it was Army then and then Navy now.
That Army-Navy series brought to you by USAA, free sponsorship there. What are your career aspirations in the Navy? You've got your service assignment. What's next?
I'm excited. We have ship selection, so I'm going surface warfare. Ship selection in February. I did ask for that one, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there. So pretty excited for that. I'm looking to go on an amphibious ship, LPD, out of San Diego. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, wherever they take me, I'm willing to go. I'm maybe thinking about trying to do some search and rescue swimming. I'm definitely not in shape for that right now, so we'll see how that goes once the track season ends. But
I got good news for you. You got the entire track season.
Yeah.
To get into that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll catch up in May. Why did you choose the Naval Academy?
Well, I watched some recruiting videos, and the Navy just looked cooler in general. I saw flight deck operations. I was like, that's awesome. But the campus itself is beautiful. The majors are great. I do ocean engineering right now. Well, I guess I'll graduate that. I love it. It's the best thing ever. I'm a huge fan of concrete now. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same thing that people say is like they come for free school, sports, whatever it is, and then they stay for the people. It's the same thing. Like Jacques or Zaz, he's one of my best friends. So I think just the culture here is really, really motivating, and the opportunities that you get afterward are incredible.
Going back to your dad's advice on success and just sticking through things, what advice would you personally give up-and-coming track athletes and runners who want to break into the Division I level and want to be recruited by schools like this one?
One, if you desire something, go after it. You may not feel qualified in the moment, but it's better to just communicate and ask for something that you really, really want to do, and you can work at it. Because there's always like room for growth with anything you do. So I know I've applied for some things that I didn't think I'd get, and then they ended up being like, yeah, sounds good, and then I just improved from there. So I'd say that for one, and then just I mean, yeah, sticking through things. If you want to do something, work harder, figure out a plan to make it work. It doesn't matter if you can't do it right then. You'll always find someone that can be in your corner too for it. So,
what's been your greatest challenge as a track athlete?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Honestly, I get really nervous for competitions. Like the meets, I love doing workouts and kind of getting my butt whooped with those. And then meets come and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm really nervous. So I think just feeling confident in myself and my ability, and like if you lose, you just reflect on that and see what you could have done better. Sometimes it's just you're not at the same level, but a lot of times it's you could have just worked a little bit harder at practice, push yourself further. I've noticed things have gotten easier as the more years you've done, because you realize that like no matter what you're going to do, it's going to hurt, so you might as well do it the best you can. But
that's a good skill. Do you have a favorite meet or moment in uniform here as an athlete?
It was our indoor meet last year against Army. I got walked. She came back from like 15 meters behind on the 4x4 relay, and somehow I was like running around that last curve, and I was like, man, what's going to happen if I lose this? And I was like, well, we're ahead. Then I was like, there's no reason to do that. So I like somehow was able to catch back up to her, and I actually finished in front of her, and we got a picture of it, and I just gave it to my stepdad to hang in his gym. He's also Army retired. So it's me beating Army, and G is in the background like jumping in the air, arms thrown out, screaming. It's better to look at the audience than whatever I was doing. So
a photo finish.
Yeah.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah.
With 400, 800?
400.
Okay. Thinking about coaches and teammates that you've come across in your time here, this is now 4 years at the Academy. Who has had great influence on your development as a midshipman and as an athlete?
Coach Kim Lunis was the first one I interacted with. She's just awesome. She understands pretty much everything. I mean, it's really nice that she's a woman and in the cross-country head coach, so she knows everybody on the team. It doesn't matter that you're not on the cross-country team or that you're a man on the men's cross-country team. She knows everybody. She is super open to like giving advice and talking to you. And like seeing her raise her kids has also been awesome, because she's balancing that work and life. But I mean, Coach Cook obviously as well. He's our sprints coach in particular. Sometimes he's a bit hard on us, but I think that's what I need for the most part. So I just really enjoy him pushing us to kind of be the best that we can be.
And before we go, I recognized you immediately when you walked in today, because you are one of the rowdiest, most supportive Navy basketball fans, does not matter men's or women's. When did that start?
I don't know. Well, my roommate, she's not anymore, but she was my roommate, is a manager for the women's team. And I was like, okay, well, she's not on the team, but she's going to be there, so I might as well go to watch, just kind of support. And then I realized, well, this is actually pretty fun to watch. Basketball is really fast-paced. There's a lot going on, and I can learn from it if I ever, have a pickup game that I get to do once a year. And then my boyfriend goes to them as well. So he is probably the biggest heckler you'll ever see, which has kind of drawn me into it a little bit more. So we kind of go back and forth, but we've won quite a bit of money doing our little dances with the Fed House gift cards. So that's my advice, is show up and do the air guitar.
Never say no to a free dinner. The acoustics in Alumni Hall are such that I can hear every word out of this woman's mouth and Mr. Salt's mouth. Incredible stuff, Taylor Woodworth. Good luck this season.
You're
going to crush it. Need some more stars on that sweater, to be quite frank.
At least 2 more. Somehow I'm going to find a 3rd year here. I don't know, or 5th year, I guess.
That's not legal. Taylor, thank you so much.